The lifeguards, we can go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in the space of 10 minutes.
You'll never get pulled down by someone that's above you. You'll always get pulled down by those that are below.
I've been criticised for signing up for things and blah, blah. And if I really wanted to, I could just get that person in a public space and go, well, you do it. And they're not going to do it. The people that don't want to see you succeed are the people that often live in that jealous world. I don't want anything but success for everyone else because I know how good it can feel.
How have you found the right time to chase these opportunities? How do you overcome the risk?
In 5 years' time, I might not be ready either, but it's going to happen. Now that it's happened, I'll deal with it. My advice for people is...
Welcome to the Better Bloke Podcast. I'm Matty.
I'm Rob.
And we're just a pair of average blokes on a mission to try and be a little bit less average.
We're going to speak about all things highs and lows of what it feels like to be a bloke, plus speak to some legends along the way about what it takes to be a better bloke. Let's get stuck in.
Welcome back to the Better Bloke Project, and we're here with Whippet, best known for, I don't know, maybe the Bondi Rescue stuff, maybe the pro surfing, the acting, the business, the gyms. You got a lot going on.
But it's good fun. I like to keep busy, and I guess you could call me one of those sort of jack of all trades, master of none, or whatever they say. But I love throwing my hat in a few different areas, and I think it keeps me a bit fresher than sort of sticking to one thing. I get a little bit not bored with things, but I like to get out and do as much as I can.
Master of none. I think you've been pretty humble there. I think everything that you've done has been probably what most people would consider very successful.
Yeah, I think. I've had a lot of success in my life, and with that, obviously, a fair bit of luck falls into it. But I think as well, surrounding yourself with good people and people that are either better than you at something or smarter than you at something, or someone that just makes you work harder than you might otherwise. So yeah, I've been lucky to put myself around good people, and I guess that puts me in a frame of mind that I've got to always kind of strive to achieve and to succeed and stuff like that. And I think that comes from my parents and siblings as well. So yeah, I've been lucky to be surrounded by good people and have good opportunities.
You say luck, but luck, I think, is where opportunity meets preparation, right? So you've had some good opportunities coming your way, but you've also taken the forefront to seize the opportunity and actually run with it.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what separates you from a lot of guys in that grind.
Yeah, I think I'm a very opportunistic person, and I've always been happy to be that. I love if a crack in a door opens, I'll always stick my foot in there and poke the head in and see what's in there. And if it looks like something that I'll get something out of personally or financially or successfully, family-wise, whatever, then, yeah, I'll always kick the door open and have a good look around. And if you can, get involved. And not everything pays off. I think social media is a bit like everyone's highlight reel. So, yeah, there are ups and downs in everything we do. But, yeah, a lot of the time I've been lucky to have a bit of success in some fun areas. And that's been able to give me a chance to pursue those things and to stay in them for longer than, what other people might stick it out.
I think you just nailed what you said with everyone's social media is their highlight reels. I think there's so many smoke and mirrors there that everyone just sees all the good shit that happens.
Yeah.
They don't see the countless hours that goes in behind the scenes or all the times that someone's fallen over and had to get themselves back up to actually make it work.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll just use coming up 2 years ago, you swam the channel, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's it'd be 2 years. Yeah, in this month actually. Yeah.
So everyone sees you swim the channel on your Instagram. Well, I mean, your Insta was pretty good. You were showing like how hard you were training for it too.
Yeah.
So, but everyone, like you go on your gram and that's like your pinned video and it's an unreal video with, everyone getting around you and whatnot. So then they see you go through that and the success of it. Something like that, like how fucking hard was that to actually prepare for?
I've said it a lot to people after and friends and family and stuff. The day itself wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. But I think that came down to the preparation that I put in. It was the first event. I do a lot of long endurance events with Reedy, one of the other lifeguards, and he hates it because I don't train half as much as he does. But yeah, I've got a good engine but this was the first thing I did that scared the shit out of me. Like everything else I've ever done, I was like, when I did an Ironman, it's like, it's if you bug it and you're stuffed at the end, you can just walk and you're still going forwards. You know, like this is the first thing I'd done that if you stop swimming, you actually start going backwards with the tides. And we raised a lot of money for Ocean Heroes, myself and a mate, Luke. A lot of, you put yourself out there as much as we did for that swim, and the failure side of it scares you, and that's what drove me to train more than I've ever trained for anything else. And I was super lucky. I had a few people that really got behind me in training. A lot of the local boys would do our weekend swims with us, but I had two guys in particular, Murph Renford, whose dad, Des Renford, was the king of the channel years and years ago, and another guy, Brent McKinnon, and they sort of showed up for every one of my hard training swims in the middle of winter in Sydney in your Speedos when you're hating life. One of them was pretty much there the whole time. So it sort of kept me going, and I was like, if I'm going to get there and get to do the good bit, and these guys are going to put this much effort in for me, just in training and turning up, they'd be, if it was hungover, whatever, they'd still turn up and go, I'm ready to swim with you. So that was a real kind of buoying experience for me. Like it really kind of kept the spirits up. And as much as swimming in Botany Bay along Brighton Sands is the lowest thing, and I would never wish it upon anyone. It builds resilience and it builds character. And when you get to the start line, in England, when you jump off the boat and swim to the shore and you're shitting yourself, really. Like I was so nervous about failing or about not making it or just how hard it was going to be. But then you think back to all those times when you swam 3 or 4 hours and then got out, had lunch, and then went and did it again. And those sorts of things kind of give you the experience and the mental edge to be able to go, fuck it, like just keep going.
Yeah.
And I had it written on my wrist, like I had a few things, but on my wrist that I was drinking with, like where I had my feeds, I had just give me 30 minutes. And that's all you needed before your next feed. So I was sort of like, don't worry about, if I had sat there at the start and thought about 10 hours, I would have melted. But if you think, just give me 30 minutes, it's only like swimming from here to there. And I've done it 1,000 times. So you can kind of break it down into little bits. And I think that's good in life with a lot of stuff, like parenting. When my missus goes away and I've got 3 young boys, and if I think of the whole weekend, I shit myself.
Yeah.
And my kids are like not even that young anymore. But if I think of it as like, let's just go and get the morning tasks done and go and have fun here, and everything can be broken down and nothing seems as scary as the big picture.
Yeah, interesting you spoke about the parenting. So that was obviously a massive physical challenge doing the channel. But, you've started businesses, which we know can be a massive grind, and there's headaches and heartaches. Same, I'm sure, with doing the shows and a lot of the stuff you've done in the past. Did you find facing those challenges prepared you for the channel, or was that a whole new kettle of fish because it was so physically demanding and the stakes were kind of high?
Yeah, I think every time you start something new or you go into something that, if it's important to you, the stakes are high. Like you don't want to fail at anything you put your mind to. And so like starting businesses and stuff like that, they might put more of a emotional stress on you because, financially you invest in them, time-wise you invest in them. And, you're looking at it for your family like, this is what I need to make work to be able to provide and support your family. Whereas, the English Channel it's a bit of a selfish thing. Like I like doing these things, and, Ironman or Coast to Coast, the English Channel, a few of the long distance events I've done, selfishly, it's a bit for my ego as well. Like it ticks a lot of boxes in my head. And I'm just lucky, like with everything though, each thing prepares you one way or another for something else. When businesses are struggling, I can always think back and think, well, physically you've got it in you to put the hours in and to put the work in. So you can I lean on a few of the things I've done. And, lifeguarding's taught me so many things. Like as well as the funnest workplace in the world, being down at Bondi with, 30 of your mates on different days. Every day is different. We go through some pretty horrible experiences down there as well. So, I think taking bits and pieces of every part of life, whether it's successes or failures, and then working out how you can kind of make that work for the next challenge is all part of it. But for me, the biggest thing is my wife. Like I wouldn't be able to do anything without the support of her and her looking after the kids as well while I'm off training a lot and, you know, all of that. And for that, I even had to put on 10 kilos for the English Channel. So, you know, like she was making me food and making sure I had all my fuel and stuff to get up the next morning and go and swim for 4 hours, stuff like that. So without good people around you, none of the good stuff really happens. And for anyone that can do it without a support network like I have, then full credit to you.
No, that's unreal. I think that's something. Well, we touched on it before when we were sort of having a bit of a chat about just, you know, all of the guys that you know and that, and your support network that you've got around you is like, it's next level.
Yeah.
Like some of these guys are just your mates that you work with are incredible human beings in themselves.
Yeah.
But like with Blokes Advice, we see a lot of the time that like some guys don't have that. They don't have like strong men around them anymore, and we're seeing that, like, you know, male loneliness and all that sort of shit. It's like it's a pretty prevalent thing right now that too many guys are feeling that, and I don't know if they know a way to get over that.
Yeah.
Like how important is a strong network around you? That
For me, it's everything. Like it's, you know, like I know physically and mentally I'm strong on my own if I put myself in a situation, but, you know, if you succeed in something, you want to be able to share it with people. If you fail at something, you need someone to lean on. So for me, it's super important to have that. And you know, like I've got my mates that I grew up with, that we went to school with, went to high school, do all the childhood stupid stuff that we go and do. And you've got those memories forever. But I've also been so open to new people coming into my life as I've gotten older. And some of the people that have come in later in life have been a really important part of that. So I feel, you know, like whilst you've got your best friends from when you're young and the old kind of days, like there's always room for new people in your life. And if someone comes into your life that can bring something positive to it, hold on to them. Don't let them get too far away from them, because you know that, you know, you're going to need that at some point, and you'll be that for someone else. So I think, yeah, always having the door open to let people in. And if, you know, there's also on the other flip side of that, there's people in everyone's life that, you know, probably take more oxygen than they deserve to. So you've got to be okay with letting that person take a step back and kind of trying to fill your circle with positive people. You know, there's that saying, hang around with 5 smokers, you'll be the 5th. Hang around with 5 people that don't train, you'll be the 6th, that kind of thing. So yeah, the people that you surround yourself with is super important. And I know not everyone has access to a great, you know, a big network of people like that, but you know, you might only need 1 or 2, and you just got to be able to be open with those people and to lean on them, but be there to lean, you know, to hold them up when they need it.
Yeah, it's hard to find those people later in life if you're not putting yourself into situations where you can.
Yeah.
You touched on like being around the life-saving boys. Bonds are formed and sort of solidified around either big highs or big lows, which is something that comes naturally in the realm of life-saving.
Yeah.
How do you find going through some of those, I guess, traumas together has sort of strengthened the relationship with those boys, even if you've only known them for a short period?
Yeah, I think you said it well, any experience that you go through, like the highs or lows, will bond people together. You see it when people go through like natural disasters or whatever, and you know, you saw it up here with the floods and everyone gets together and that produces bonds that are unbreakable. Same, you know, when people have, you know, like whatever, they get trapped at sea or whatever, those things like create bonds. And down the lifeguards, we can go from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows in the space of 10 minutes. You know, like you can be having the best day, it's hot and sunny, blah, blah, and within 10 minutes, someone's drowned or had a heart attack and you're doing CPR. And unfortunately, not all of them are successful. A lot of them are. The boys are so well trained down there. And that's one of the things that I think creates that bond down there is we put a lot of work into training and being prepared, fitness, all that sort of stuff. Because if shit hits the fan, I need to be able to count on you or whoever's near me that what I do, they'll have their job done just as good, if not better. And you've got to have each other's back. And when it doesn't go well, it's horrible. You've got someone's lifeless body in your hands and their family's often around or something like that. So those bonds are formed through either really positive experiences when you get someone back and they get to go home to their family, or, you know, unsuccessful resuscitations where then you got to, you know, it's like going through trauma. You kind of got to go through it together.
How do you find you deal with that? Obviously, you're in a tight knit group, like you said, but like that's got to do some pretty serious mental damage when you're sort of in that situation.
It's interesting down the beach, like, you know, you put 35 people in one environment, like, you know, and we've had boys and girls work on the service over the years. Everyone reacts to things differently. Like, I've done about a dozen resuscitations down the beach, and luckily for me, 10 of them have been successful. 2 of them, one guy had a heart attack, and no matter what, he wasn't being saved, and another guy unfortunately jumped off a cliff, and whilst we got a pulse back, his internal injuries were too much, so he passed away a couple of days later. But everyone deals with it so differently. Some of the boys, it's like water off a duck's back. Like they don't flinch, and some of the boys are a lot more emotional about it after the fact, and it all depends on, you know, how you feel you did. You know, like I've had resuscitations where I feel I've done a better job or it's run more smoothly than other ones, and you come out of those ones going, well, there's nothing else I could have done. Like, whereas other ones you kind of think, oh, maybe if I had to punch that wave differently or had have done something different, could I have got there 20 seconds quicker? Like, which you can't turn it back. You can't take it back. You can only do what you can do. So yeah, I think all the boys and myself, like, you know, if someone does something really stupid when they know the dangers and there's a bad outcome, I don't hold on to that. That was their choice. That's their decision, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if someone's just gone in for a swim and then they go and try and help someone and then they get in trouble, or, you know, a little kid, you know, like the boys have done resuscitations on like small children, and that is
That would
like
be-
they
that
don't
would be
know the
hard.
difference. Yeah, especially, you know, if you've got kids, like thank God I haven't had to do one, but, you know, like a mate of mine mouth to mouth a 2-year-old out in the water and brought her back to life. Like, it was one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. But yeah, like that affects everyone differently. And I think if he had have had kids at the time, like it would have been a lot different how he would look at it, you know, and how you react when you get to that situation. So yeah, the bonds at work are bonded through highs and lows. We're lucky. We work in a great environment with great humans. The highs far outweigh the lows. So it's always, you know, you always look forward to going to work when you're down at Bondi, or, you know, and even in the gyms and stuff like that, you try and surround yourself with good people, and, you know, you're going to have a good day.
A lot of what we do at Blokes Advice is, you know, it's a general conversation to get blokes talking, but at the end of the day, it is kind of, you know, we're an anti-suicide type situation. That's the end goal we're trying to stop. And we get all these crazy messages, and it's a similar thing to what you were describing, where it does take an emotional toll depending on if you feel like you've done enough.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feel about that, but like, obviously, if guys are reaching out and they're having a terrible time and, you know, you can't get back to a message quick enough, or I don't know what it is.
It's one of those things where, I mean, it depends on the person you are. Like you were saying, with everyone takes those situations different. Where we've had so many boys behind the scenes of Blokes Advice that, you know, we might not be able to get back to a bloke in time or do a welfare check in time, and like that's hit them pretty fucking hard. But like you said, like you can only do so much, especially sort of in our situation where it's all online and you can't get an address to do a welfare check, or you can't just duck down the road and do that. You're not there in person to be able to do anything more than you can. So I guess it's all situational, and then to who it is as to what you're dealing with.
Just, like, if you get good speed and good responses, and like even if the outcome's not great, at least you feel like you did your bit.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you know, like, we're not Superman. No one is. You know, you can't be everywhere at once. You can't. Not all the time is it going to go good.
Yeah.
So you've got to be, you know, when I took the job as a lifeguard, one of the older boys sat me down and said, mate, this is what you're going to be faced with, and do you want to do that? And I was still kind of, you know, looking at the idea of being at the beach for 10 hours a day and getting paid for it and seeing all the boys have a good time. And it's not until you do your first resuscitation or your first spinal where you know it's a bad one, or, you know, things like that, that you actually go, shit, I'm putting myself in this position, but mentally I go to work every day knowing that that can happen. And so I'm okay with it if it does. But it's, yeah, in life, I think sort of, you know, I've had mates and, you know, we've all been affected by suicide, you know, so that sort of thing. I think it's just doing your bit if you can. You know, you can't save everyone at all times. And unfortunately that's life. So, you know, trying, you know, you can't let that kind of get you down as well. You know, we can only do what we can do. And I think as blokes, we take failures pretty badly. And we're not open to sharing how we feel about that after it or whatever. We know guys bottle things up and it comes out when they're on the piss or they're, you know, they have a fight or whatever. Like that's sometimes our way of releasing frustration, I guess, as a bloke. And it's only as I've gotten older that I've learnt to be able to do it in a lot of different ways. And it's really good now. There's so much positivity around men's mental health. And, you know, like there's a lot of groups, you know, like yourselves that can offer advice. Like I might not know someone, but I might have been through a similar situation. I think that's what people lose sight of is they kind of go, hang on, I'm the only person going through this. It's my problem, blah, blah. If they turned around, if you get 100 guys in a room, there's probably 25 guys going through the same thing. And I've got a mate who does workshops, Tommy Herschel, with Find Your Feet. And I've been to one of his and it's an incredible experience to get a group of young men. And he does them with young girls as well, but a lot of them are based around young blokes owning their story and opening up their story. And then you sit in a room and there's guys that don't know each other, but by the end of it, 5 of them have gone, man, I'm going through the same thing. I'm going through this. And they can use each other then as support to kind of move forward and to, you know, try and grow on those situations and learn to deal with them better.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like you said, if you're not out there talking about it, there's no relatability with anyone else.
Yeah.
So, and that's the whole purpose behind this is so we can start speaking to more boys and going, oh, fuck, okay, yeah, maybe if I mention this, Matty might be going through the same thing. You might be going through the same thing.
Yeah.
All it needs to do is you just need to actually talk about it though first and let people know that, you know, you are going through some shit.
And I like, for me, I sort of saw that and it's on a different level because at the Olympics, Harry Garside's been training at the gym for the last couple of years and is one of the greatest humans I've ever met. And one of those people that I said, you know, later on in life, people can come into your life and bring so much to it. But, you know, when he lost and you saw him so upset and really in a dark space, I saw people go, why is he talking like that? And it's just a boxing match. But like he put 20 years of his life. Yeah. Why can't he show emotion and why can't he let people know how bad he's feeling before he's going to feel good again? So, yeah, I think as a society, I think we need to be more open to people being able to talk about it. And there's so many good things for men now, like platforms to be able to kind of get advice or air their grievances and stuff without having to do it on the piss at the pub. And
yeah, interesting example, because the people that were probably saying, oh, what's he having a sook for, often are the same people that say it's not weak to speak. Or, you know, they're on this, we need to take mental health seriously. But it's a perception of what happens when someone actually does it. And he's a perfect example because, you know, he has a platform, he has influence, he's a tough individual, obviously a fighter. Like if we can see guys like that in a moment of dealing with their own things, you know, that's a great example that it's okay to do that.
And why should he have to go back to his room and do it by himself? Say what you got to say and get it out there. And then, you know, the people that needed to be around him were around him because they knew how upset he was. So I think, the more that we can, and, you know, like there's obviously different platforms for different conversations, and his was an in the moment type thing after he lost. And I really appreciated him being able to be strong enough to do that in front of the world. I thought that was awesome. Whereas other people go,
an exceptional human being too.
He's the most like for a young guy, he's the most emotionally intact. I don't know if that's the word, but like intelligent, like forward thinking about, you know, your emotions and how to be a person and to grow as a person, because I've listened to him talk a few times, and he's, you know, so much of his chat comes from his childhood and who he had no idea who he was and what he wanted to be or why he behaved in certain ways. And he's gone on a big journey to find where he is. But yeah, I think the more people can listen to someone like he can punch the shit out of you, but you'll see him an hour later and he'll be in his ballet shoes with painted fingernails going to do ballet. And there's so many sides to him that are so good. And I think blokes need to be open to being not just a bloke's bloke. You can be like, I'm an emotional guy, so I get it. Like I can cry easily, and I don't care if I'm in front of people and I get upset. That sort of stuff to me doesn't bother me because I think it's good for us to let that out. But yeah, I think he's a good human who's, put it on show for a lot of blokes that whilst you can be as tough as nails, you can also be emotional and also, be there for yourself and treat yourself well.
See, I like to use him. So I'm the exact opposite of what you just explained, but with my little fella. So he's in boxing, and there was a couple of months ago where he was having a bit of a hard time. He's just sort of been bumped up in classes, so he's doing some hard shit. And he loves Harry Garside, and I've got no issues in him using Harry Garside as a role model because that's the kind of sort of little boy that I want to make. Is someone who's like emotionally intelligent, but he's tough and he's strong enough to be able to talk about his feelings and whatnot. And so I reached out to Harry and I was like, hey man, little fella's doing this, and he sent back like a full minute and a half video just saying get out of the little fella and all that, and didn't have to do that, but just because of his, I guess, want to try and sort of push his message and like help that next generation, like he is something else as far as like a role model for boys go.
And
it's
like
crazy.
The cycle of, unfortunately, like when bad cycles start, domestic violence and alcoholism and all those things, often they can just keep repeating themselves. And he's kind of gone from having this childhood where he looked up to his brothers who were both pretty tough, and he was at school trying to fight people. He goes, I don't even know why. I didn't want to, but I just thought that's what I had to be a Garside, to be tough and to be brave, to be rough and all that kind of stuff. And then, he got into boxing, and it taught him that, you can be tough, but you can also be who you want to be. And he spent a lot of time with his mum as a kid. So he said, I did a lot of stuff with mum, which brought out the feminine side of him. And he said, I think it's awesome for blokes to be able to float on both sides. And that's not, in a like in a fluid sort of thing. He said, there's nothing wrong with sitting there and watching something with your mum and watching an emotional thing and being happy 1 minute, and then I can go and get in a ring and spar someone and punch the shit out of them half an hour later, and I can go between both. And he said, I think it gives us a lot of balance rather than trying to be that stoic man that just has to push through everything. Let things get the better of you, but then learn how to deal with it, and try and get through it.
You've mentioned a few times there, like with him, young head on his shoulders. And I know you sort of proudly say on your Instagram, fittest you've ever been at 40, but I'm sure you've also been through quite an emotional intelligence journey to get to where you are.
Absolutely.
How do you find like the head on your shoulders now compared to when you were in your 20s and your ability to have conversations about all this sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think, obviously emotionally we develop as we get a bit older. Like I said it after I did the channel, I said my 20-year-old self may have been stronger or whatever, but I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. Whereas my 40-year-old or 39 when I did it, my mental capacity to push through challenges and to be okay with the ups and downs of the training and what the day might bring was what got me across the line. So I think as we grow older, we learn and we develop emotionally and physically. I think, a lot of people think that their best is past them because a lot of athletes peak in their 20s or whatever and retire at 30. That doesn't mean as a general bloke, like I'm not an athlete, I'm just someone who wants to get out and keep doing things. One, as I said before, a bit of ego ticks my boxes, but it also puts it in front of my kids that going and doing shit is good. It's good for the soul. It's good for your people around you. You can raise money for charity, those sorts of things. So yeah, I think as we get older, you learn from experience and you learn from, the people around you. And that's why, if you can have 1 or 2 or 10 good people around you, you're going to keep developing as a person physically, emotionally. And yeah, if I can be fitter and stronger physically and mentally as I get into my 40s than I was in my 20s, then I'm still progressing and I'm still doing things that I probably didn't think I'd be able to do. So that's sort of for me, that's the goal. And it's definitely easier to emotionally develop as we get older and you learn. And I think that comes with experience and also comes with being humbled by being a parent or seeing other people go through more. You've had more time to live and get those experiences. So yeah, I hope I keep getting better as a person and also physically. I hope I'm still able to do what my wife says is ridiculous, stupid shit well into my 50s, you know, like I don't know, she kind of goes, why do you want to go and do something that's going to be painful? I've just lost a couple of toenails from the Gold Coast Marathon, but I had the best day with my mates from Sydney, came up, we had a hell day, went and had lunch, a few beers after, and you celebrate your wins and it's good, and the toenails, they'll come back.
Is with your mental toughness and sort of obviously like being, I guess, what you now know in your 40s, is that something that you're trying to instill in your kids from an earlier age?
Yeah, I think that definitely is something for me now. Like, it's also like understanding that not everything's going to be a win, you know, and I think that's why I'm really, I don't know if it's going to be a bad thing to say, but I'm really against how uncompetitive kids' sport is these days because
You and me both.
yeah, like I've got a kid who's 10 and was playing semi-finals and grand finals, and then they changed the rules. And those bonds that they make by winning or losing those games as a kid help them learn to live in real world. Like, you go through school now and everyone gets like an encouragement award. Why can't you just award the kid that put more effort in and was, might have achieved more academically? Because at the end of school, every kid goes to leave and thinks, oh, I'll just get a job just because I turned up. I think kids are getting too protected these days. And yeah, for me as a parent, I definitely want to show my boys that hard work pays off. But if it doesn't, pick yourself up, go again.
Yeah, and finding the shit you're good at too.
Yeah.
So like you said, some people are going to excel on sports days, some might be in academia. But if you're just okay at everything, you're not going to find those things that you're good at.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to find some happiness in life is by pursuing the things that you are good at. Because you are good at something.
Yeah.
You just got to find it.
Everyone's got a skill, and I've got like 3 young boys, and my eldest one is, probably, his thing's surfing, and he's got no fear, like none at all. Whereas my second one, awesome at soccer, and he's good at sport, but he's much more he's more thought process, and he'll think, like my eldest one, you want to jump off a building into a pool? Yep, go do it. He won't check the depth. He won't do we've been to hospital a heap of times with him. The second one will be like, how deep is it? Blah, blah. He's a lot more artistic. And the third one, I have no idea. He's just a devil at the moment, but he'll come good and show something. But, like everyone's got something about him. And I just feel like kids these days need to be nurtured and opportunity isn't the same for every kid. And I understand that. But, at a young age, every kid should be able to get out, play, learn to win, learn to lose, and have that competitive aspect, which they're going to need in life, sort of developed in their youthful age. And, I think it's great to celebrate every kid getting out and trying, but I also think it's great to show the kids that maybe don't put the work in, that Johnny over here actually trained every training session, and that's why he's the best player on the team, or he did, everyone's naturally gifted at things differently, but I think kids aren't shown that hard work pays off and it should be rewarded.
Even with that, so I coach my little fella's footy team, and like all the kids in that team, being that we don't score, because obviously you're not allowed to score the games now, they know if they win.
100%.
They know. And I'll ask them, like, oh, how'd you go today? And if they got pumped, they'll openly come out and go, yeah, we played like shit.
Yeah.
And like that's all about, half the thing is teaching kids accountability too. Like that's competitiveness, accountability. They're all general things that human beings need to fucking know.
Yeah. And in the NRL, if your kids go out and get pumped, it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's not their fault they miss tackles.
No.
It's like always the coach's
It's
fault.
always the coach. So luckily I'm not on a $600K salary and get dumped. So it comes with it.
Yeah.
You've allowed yourself the freedom to pursue different things in your life, which I think a lot of guys haven't done. Obviously, sounds like you got a weapon of a wife that's allowed you to do this alongside the family and all the different jobs. How have you found the right time to chase these opportunities, or when do you know it's correct? Or how do you overcome the risk and the worries you're feeling?
I don't. I remember a mate said it to me about having his kid. He was a bit younger than we were when his first kid sort of came along, and he was like, someone said, "Mate, you know, how can you have a kid when you're in your early 20s? You're not ready, blah blah." And he said, "Well, would I ever be ready? Because in 5 years' time, I might not be ready either. But it's going to happen, and now that it's happened, I'll deal with it." And he's now got 4 beautiful kids, and still married. Like, I think opportunity. There's never going to be the perfect time. And if it comes along at the perfect time and all your ducks fall into place, then happy days. But opportunities don't keep coming knocking. So when one does, as I said before, if that door opens a little bit, stick your foot in and have a look. And if you think you can add value to something, then jump in and do it. The risk, we all take risks, and you want to be calculated in your risk. Like, I wouldn't go and chuck everything I have, all my money into one basket if I wasn't 100% sure that it's going to pay off. And you're never going to be 100% sure. But the one thing you can be 100% sure of is the effort you can put in, or the learnings you can have to try and make it a success of whatever you do, whether that's a physical challenge or a work thing or whatever. So I don't think, my advice for people is take opportunities when they come, because they won't always be there. And I learnt that. I did a lot of acting as a kid, and when I was finishing school, you just think that those things are going to keep coming and the jobs will keep coming. And then before you know it, they don't. And you go for a whole bunch of jobs and you're not getting them. And then you go, maybe my mates were right. Maybe I'm not that good at acting. But, you've got to take opportunity when it's there. And for me, I think every bloke can take an opportunity from, whether it's a little thing, getting involved in something to help someone else out, or helping out at the footy club or whatever, to opening their own business. You've got to just be willing to take a bit of a risk, but be calculated in your risk, and also, work with what you've got, and you see that with people investing in things. Like, an investment for $5,000 for someone might be the same as someone investing $50 million. Like, it's all relevant to what you have, and you just got to be willing to, I guess, every risk you got to be willing to lose it, but you can make the outcome a lot more sure if you put the effort in to make it work.
How much of your risks that you take, either with business or any of your ultra marathon stuff, or like Ironman, you said that it comes down to ego. Are you doing that for like legacy for your kids too? Because I know that's what sort of drives me with a lot of the stuff we do. It's, I know, being that dad that everyone go like, oh fuck, my dad did this, or all that sort of stuff. Does that help drive you, or like make it a little bit easier to take those risks on actually doing stuff? Yeah,
I think, like, once you become a dad, your legacy, I guess, is what you leave for your kids, or how you can help them develop to become a person that can then achieve stuff later on. So yeah, selfishly, a lot of the stuff I do, I get the thrills out of putting myself in pain and pushing through, and then you get, you finish a big race or you have a success, you get to achieve, you get to feel that success, and it's always great to celebrate those wins. But yeah, I think, you do things to prove points to certain doubters, I guess, as well. Like, sometimes I'll just sign up to do something just because someone said I couldn't. And for me, that's a good enough reason to go, fuck it, I'll go and do it. And I think as well, it just puts it in my boys' minds, and even my mates. I've convinced them, a lot of them, to go and do stuff they never would have done. And for me, that's a win. Like, getting someone out of their comfort zone to go do something that they wouldn't have thought they could do, I think is an awesome experience. And it's something that I get just as much out of watching someone else succeed as I do myself. So I will always put myself out there, but I'll also try and convince other people to have a good crack as well.
I think that's so good, because Australia's pretty bad for putting blokes down, or putting anyone down, instead of lifting them up. And I think we need more guys trying to peer pressure their mates into actually having a fucking go, instead of peer pressuring them into going, oh, don't do that, you can't do this. Like, egg your mates on to go and do some cool shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, social media has been wonderful for that, in terms of you can actually see what a person that you might look at and go, oh, they're a pretty ordinary bloke, but fuck, he just went and did this. Like Ned Brockman, like, he was just a sparky who could run a bit, ran 50 marathons in 50 days. And I was there at the end of that in the park, and we sat down, and one of the other blokes bought like a little gas barbecue, and we sat there and had sausages on bread. And the next minute the bloke signs up and goes, "No, fuck it, I'm going to run across the country." And now he's about to try and break another world record. I'm lucky I've got people that are somewhat close and around you that are doing this shit, because it inspires me to make me want to go and do more shit. And I think then if I can do it on a smaller level, then it might inspire. Like, I got 8 mates to sign up for the Gold Coast Marathon that had never run more than the city to surf. And so for them, they were like, I can't do it. I said, bullshit. If I can swim to France, you can run around the Gold Coast, and then we'll go and get on the beers and have a good feed after. Like, every bit of inspiration that I always get, I always try and pass that on. And I think more blokes should be, like, while in the lifeguard tower, we'll tear strips off each other and bag the shit out of each other all day in a fun sense. The minute someone says, I want to go and do this, everyone gets behind them. And I think that's what we need as a society. We're not just men and women, not, adults to kids. I think everyone in Australia needs to push each other up a little bit rather than trying to peg each other down through jealousy. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest cultural shifts that I'd love to see changed.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I heard a little while ago is you'll never get pulled down by someone that's above you. You'll always get pulled down by those that are below.
For sure.
So,
and I think I've been criticised for signing up for things and blah blah. And if I really wanted to, I could just get that person in a public space and go, well, you do it. And they're not going to do it. The people that don't want to see you succeed are the people that often live in that jealous world. And as I'm lucky enough to have had a lot of success along the way, that I don't want anything but success for everyone else, because I know how good it can feel. So I think the more we can get around each other and push each other, and whether it's running across Australia like Ned did, or getting your mates to do a 5K fun run every week and then build that up to a 10K one after a few weeks, like, every little win is, every person's wins are on their level. And it's, I think everyone needs to just get around and push each other up, both men and women. And as I said, I'm lucky I've got a wife who knows that I need to do that kind of stuff to keep me from going insane or whatever. Like, she's just good at supporting me and going, well, I don't want to do it, but you can go and do it. So yeah, I think I'm lucky in that sense, but it's the mates that you surround yourself with and the guys that push you along during the shit times, that they're the ones we need more of in Australia, and I think in the world, really.
Yeah, we're massive on that. You need those people to be able to share the highs and the lows with.
Yeah.
I heard this thing, which was interesting. Like, people say you want some mates there that you can go to in the dark times. You can lean on them when you need a little bit of a helping hand.
Yeah.
But more importantly, like, you need the boys there that you can go to with your wins, and they are genuinely happy for you. They're not jealous. They're on board with your win and they're happy for your happiness.
100%.
And I think that's harder to get than the boys that are there for you when you're down.
Yeah, true. And it's surrounding yourself with people that have like-minded ideas. And, like, if you go to a gym and if you're getting put down a lot for trying to achieve something physical, blah, blah, change your setting a little bit. Go to somewhere where those people actually hang out that want to achieve that shit. And I'm sure you'll find a bit more support. Like, you see a lot of people fall in love or get married or whatever, or meet in gyms. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you? You're both there trying to do what's good for your health. You're both there for your mental state. You're both there and you're happy to support that person in them doing that. Whereas I think people from different aspects of life often kind of put each other down more. Whereas if you can find those people that are interested in achieving something, and again, it doesn't have to be like, I'm not going to run across the country, but I'll damn well show support for anyone who does, or who signs up for something big. Like, try and find a couple of people that are there for your wins, and you'll have such a good time celebrating those, but also achieving them.
Although if I say that you couldn't run across the country, you'd go give it a fucking nudge though, wouldn't you?
I'd to be honest, my knees and feet would just jump off my body, I reckon.
Yeah,
they hate running,
nope.
but I'd be probably more inclined. I'd rather swim.
Swim to Tassie.
Swim something stupid than the physical aspect of running. But whatever it is, if you can dream it, then you can achieve it if you want.
Yeah, we'll keep eyes on your socials, because I got a feeling you're going to be jumping from challenge to challenge.
Yeah, and I'm actually super excited for my kids to get old enough. They're only 11, 8 and 3 to be able to start doing some stuff with them. Like, I did that Molokai paddle from Molokai to Oahu, and like, that to me, to be able to go do that with the boys, because my boys surf and paddle and stuff, like when they get old enough to be able to go do that, that'd be epic. So like those sorts of things, I can't wait. Whilst I don't want to get older, I'm looking forward to being able to do that with the kids as they get older.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for jumping on and sharing some of your life lessons. It's been, so good to hear your take of obviously being a much more physically achieving guy and how that comes across in your mindset.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Thanks for having me on. If you want to follow along with what I do and sort of get a bit of a snapshot into my life, it's just Whippet _ on Instagram. I don't do TikTok. I'm pretty bad at dancing and singing. So Instagram and that's the snapshot into my life. I hope that anyone who listens takes something out of it. I think one of the biggest things I've learned as I got older is you can read a whole book, but you might only take one paragraph that really resonates. So any little bit of gold I can sort of take from the world, I hold on to. So if someone takes something from this, then I'll be stoked.
Plenty of gold. All his social links are in the description, so go and check that out.
And as always, be better. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Better Bloke. If you got anything out of it, show some love by dropping a 5-star review below.
If you want to learn more about everything we're doing, head to the description, hit the links and follow us on the socials. If you want to learn more about the project, head to betterblokeproject.org.